What is up, guys? Andrew here, back at you with another killer review. And today may not be my birthday, but it might as well be because we're going to talk about 1987's Predator. Alright, guys, 1987's Predator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, is one of the greatest action movies of all time. I'm going to get into the plot really quick so I can get in and tell you what I like and what I dislike about the movie, which is very minuscule, let me tell you. So, the plot basically, there's this alien that comes to Earth on the hottest years and it hunts man, the deadliest game. And of course, we're not aware of that yet, but we're introduced right away to this mercenary team led by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Schwarzenegger's team of mercenaries are some of the manliest guys you've ever seen. You've got Sonny Landham there, Jesse Ventura, Carl Weathers, Bill Duke. You've got a couple other guys filling out the platoon. And of course, they're on this rescue mission. Carl Weathers' character of Dylan has actually sent in Arnold's crew, and they're supposed to go in and rescue Jim Hopper, which I love the fact that Stranger Things included that character's name as one of their main characters. I don't know how many people that watch Stranger Things actually get that comparison. I'd hope everybody does. But anyway, they're supposed to go somewhere in Central America and go see what happened to this crew of guys. And so they go in, and of course, the whole thing was kind of a setup to get these documents. Before they go in there, of course, they find Hopper's men just savagely skinned alive, and so they don't know what's going on. And after they take that enemy camp, the place is too hot for a pickup, so they're trying to get to this extraction point, and that's when the Predator starts picking them off one by one. Using his superior alien weaponry and his camouflage. There's some awesome effects in this movie. And that's basically the movie right there. They're just trying to get to a point where they can be picked up, and who will survive and what will be left of them. So right away, what I like about this movie, this movie has some mad masculinity going on. Every one of these guys is just so well defined. Whether you got Jesse Ventura in that helicopter, and he's got this blasphemous sexual Tyrannosaurus line when nobody wants any of his chewing tobacco. It's amazing. They're in Central America, so nobody's wearing sleeves, much like me, just for effect for this thing. And while I look nothing like them, those guys really pull it off, especially in those scenes where they're trying to set up traps for the Predator, and they're taking vines and they're pulling on them and stuff. And it's just, this movie has so much masculinity in it, you almost have to laugh at it. The weapons in this movie are amazing. Most of the guys have M16s. Jesse Ventura's got this minigun, which would be used again in Terminator 2. And the thing is just awesome. And they have that scene after the Predator gets Hawkins and then gets Blaine. And, of course, Mac sees its eyes. He grabs up that minigun and starts shooting at him. And they just put hundreds of thousands of rounds into the forest, and they just level this entire forest. Somewhere there's some tree huggers crying whenever they watch this scene, and it makes me laugh. But as I said, I love the characters. You've got Blaine, who's kind of the braggart. You've got Billy, who's the tracker, and everybody really loves his character. I'm no exception there. You've got Hawkins, who tells the vagina jokes, and it's just, they're funny. They're wrong, but they're funny. I love Billy's laugh, with the echo joke. You've got the character of Dylan, who nobody trusts in this movie, especially, after they find all that paperwork in that enemy encampment there. Arnold's character, Dutch, is really amazing. He's basically based after a comic book character. And the one character that I feel is really underrated in this thing is Bill Duke playing Mac. He's the friend of Blaine, and so he shows a lot of acting chops whenever Blaine dies. Up in that tree of a nighttime out on guard duty, and he kills that pig and everything. I really enjoy that scene. I enjoy that character a whole lot. His death is really sad. Him and Dylan, whenever they're trying to sneak up on the Predator, and of course it knows they're there, and but I love his lines. Look there through them trees. I see you. I love that character. Mac is one of my favorites. When talking about the things I like about this movie, you know, the Predator, nobody had ever seen a character like that before. I guess maybe the Alien Queen a year before in Aliens was really cool like this, but nobody had seen this. It's an alien, almost Rastafarian looking warrior, and it was just amazing. Designed by Stan Winston, who did the Terminator, and he's done a lot of really cool special effects for a lot of different movies. Um, Jim Cameron actually had a little bit of something to do when he was designing this. He's like, I'm kind of struggling with this, and Cameron's like, I've always wanted to see something with mandibles. And so, when there's that big reveal when the Predator takes his mask off, little tip of the hat to Jim Cameron there. But I love this movie. I love the setting. I love how they're in the jungle and it's canopied, and so you can't tell where the predator's firing from. It adds to the claustrophobia of it all. It kind of reminds me almost of like a Vietnam type of thing, the way the thing's hunting them, and them being just so unaware of their surroundings and everything. And of course, you can't go on about the predator and the predator effects without talking about the late Kevin Peter Hall. You know, the giant of a man who played Harry and Henderson's and all kinds of big creatures. Of course, he played this, and it's really hard to act through prosthetics, but he did such a good job. That scene where him and Arnold are having their final battle, the way he's taking off those, they almost look like Rastafarian dreads, but it's, just kind of like an atmospheric device, and he takes that mask off, and he's just toying with Arnold there. And so much acting done there. As a matter of fact, I've said this in some other videos. This is some of Arnold Schwarzenegger's best acting. When he comes off that waterfall, which I love that scene whenever he's sliding down there and you get that slow mo of him going off that waterfall and landing in, and he's covered in the mud and the predator can't see him, and he's just scared to death. And some of those scenes where they're having that final battle and he's running from the predator, all you see is the whites of his eyes, and you see so much fear and despair in his eyes. And I love Arnold Schwarzenegger for that. This, of course, was Jim McTiernan's first major Hollywood film. He'd probably done a few things before this, but this was the first really big, high-profile one. This got him Die Hard, which I also love. And he just went on a run. He did Predator and Die Hard, Last Action Hero, 13th Warrior, which I think is a very underrated movie. I might review it sometime on this channel, with Antonio Banderas. Just some really good stuff from John McTiernan. And this is what kind of set off his career for him, set everything into motion. And he's got into some legal trouble. I know he got in like a wiretapping scandal, a few years back. And I hope you're doing well, sir. You made some great movies. Alan Silvestri did the score to this, and that main Predator score, that is just amazing. I got goosebumps just now doing that. Really love the score to this movie, especially those scenes where they're setting those traps and everything, and the scene there at the end with Arnold the Predator where he's setting those traps, and it's a lot of string playing going on. Just this is one of those movies. Without that score, I don't think it's quite as impactful, as it actually is. And this movie really lends itself to that score. So the story of how this movie got made is actually pretty cool. You've got John and Jim Thomas, who had never actually submitted a script to a studio before, and they just laid the Predator script on somebody's doorstep. And somehow it got to Joel Silver. He did a lot of movies for Fox. I believe he had a lot to do with Lethal Weapon around that time, which is funny because Hawkins, played by Shane Black, actually helped write Lethal Weapon. Um, Somehow that ended up there, became an Arnold vehicle. From there, it got a 15 to 18 million dollar budget, and it just took off. So I always thought that was a great story, that these guys who they were nobody in Hollywood, they took a chance and laid the script down, and to me that was really cool. As far as favorite scenes in this movie, I can just put this thing on and let it roll. The entire thing is pretty much a favorite scene to me. There's some somewhat questionable acting sometimes there with the character Vanna, where she's talking about, I saw some blood on the leaves, that's a little bit out of place, but that's really the only thing I can kind of think of that I don't like in this. I can, like I said, I just put it on, let it roll. I would just be talking about every scene in the movie, if I mention my favorite scene. So yeah, I love the waterfall. I love that whole last act where he's fighting the predator. I love the assault on the enemy camp. Yeah, I love the beginning, Long Tall Sally, that whole thing in the helicopter. There's just so much to love about Predator. This is one of the greatest action movies of all time. I was just reading that in 2015, Rolling Stone put out a reader poll of the greatest action movies of all time, and this was fourth, for crying out loud. Um, do I think it's the fourth best action movie of all time? That's kind of steep, all time, but that just tells you how people hold this in such high regard, as far as an action movie. As far as a sci-fi action movie, this is top five easily for me. Terminator and Aliens and this, it's just top-notch sci-fi action. And I can't recommend this movie enough. If you've been living under a rock somewhere for the last 30, 6 years and have never seen Predator, go buy a DVD or a Blu-ray, or I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. I break this thing out a couple times a year just to watch it, and every time I'm amazed by how good it is. As a matter of fact, last decade, back when the Palace in Springfield, Missouri was still around and they were showing their midnight movies, me and a bunch of other people badgered them enough that they actually showed Predator. I'll put my ticket stubs up here. Um, they actually showed this, I think it was in 2014, if I remember correctly. And me and my brother Brad, one of my great friends, David Dowden, who's turned me on to a lot of great movies, love you, David, if you're listening. We went and watched this and just had a great time watching Predator on the big screen. And of course, this movie has spawned a franchise, and the movies are of varying quality. I like Predator 2 a lot. At the beginning, I didn't really care for Predator 2 as much. It's a totally different animal, in that urban setting. And Danny Glover's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not supposed to be. But I've really, over the years, come to appreciate Predator 2. Predators is what it is. The Predator I really don't care for. Prey I liked quite a bit. So, I mean, this franchise is up and down, but it will never get any higher than that original movie. This is Drew Review, so I have to rate this thing, and I'm kind of torn. I kind of want to give it a 9. I kind of want to go 9.5, but, I don't think there's quite enough there acting wise to go quite 9.5. So I'm going to compromise and give it 9.25. I absolutely love this movie. If I was going to show someone, my favorite action movies of all time, I would show them Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Aliens, and Predator. So guys, thank you for sticking with me through the end of this video. And coming up next, I think I've decided I'm going to do Screamers, so look for that in the next week or so. I really like Screamers with Peter Weller. After that, I'm really not sure. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see. I'm thinking Big Trouble in Little China, maybe The Fog, do some John Carpenter stuff. I really kind of want to do the first Planet of the Apes. I did a review for Beneath the Planet of the Apes, so let me know. Maybe I'll put up a polls. You guys be sure and vote on those whenever you see them. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Please like and subscribe. Come on, do it now. Uh, sorry, bad Arnold. But anyway, this is Andrew. I ain't got time to bleed anymore, so I'll see you down the line.